is Dave, and this is part 4 of methods. So we're spending a lot of time on methods, as I really want to drill methods into your head. This is the fundamentals of programming, is using methods. You have to have a really good understanding of methods and how to pass values to methods and return values and all of that fun stuff. You have to have a really strong grasp of that. So that's why we're spending so much time on methods. So this is part 4, and I have I'm still in debug mode. I have a format, just same as before. Just continuing with the same program. So let's go to the code behind. And you see I've commented all this other stuff out that we've been doing, and I've added this list. I've populated this list, right? If you're not sure what a list is, then please review the video on list. So we have a list here, and I've populated it with items, just like we've done before. And I have a new method that I define called enumerate list. And I'm passing it the whole list, right? I'm passing it this list, right? So let's look at the definition. This is my my method definition. Again, public access. Access modifier is public. We're not concerned about that. This was not returning a value, so we just use void. The name of the method is enumerate list. That's what I named it. It's trying to be descriptive, because that's what it does. It enumerates the list. And so now let's look at my parameter signature. Parameter signature, I've declared the type for this parameter. This input parameter box can only hold a list of strings. A list of strings, right? You can only put strings in this list. And remember, list is like a box of smaller boxes, right? It's a list, right? It's a group of variables, if you will. And then items is just what I chose to name the parameter. I could have named it anything. And note too that here I'm using I'm using the parameter here and here, right? And I can use this. Well, this is going to be a list, so I can use this just like a list. Like so if we go up here, we have our store list, right? And do a copy and paste. Period, and I get its members, right? These are the count and what have you. So these are the members of a store list. So I can do the same thing here with our parameter. It's the same, right? And we got count, we got the exact same members, because this is a list, because it's been declared to take a list of strings, and it's going to be passed a list of strings, right? So it's declared as a list of strings, so that's what it is. It's going to be a list of strings, right? Because that's what I declared it. So I'm using that here. I'm using this count, just like we cover this in for loops. So if this looks like Greek to you, hieroglyphics, please go back to the video on for loops. And so we explained list in the video on list, and for loops in the video on for loops. So if this doesn't make sense, go back and review those videos. So this is just going to enumerate the list and we're writing to the console, or actually the output window, right? We're out into and this is what it does, right? It just enumerates the list. So we're not going to run this. We've seen this before. This way we've defined a method that does it, and we've called the method, right? And I should just go ahead and run it. What the heck? All right, let's go ahead and run this. So I've populated my store list, and we're not using the form other than where we're using the button. So just click on the button and the output window, and here you go. And it's just enumerated my list, just like we've seen before with the for loops. But it's just this time we're putting it in a method, right? This is a method block. Or a code block. This is the method's code block. So we're just creating a method to do it, and then we're calling the method, right? And we're passing it our list. This is our argument, We're just passing it our list, right? And let's see if we can do the arrow thing again. All right. So we're passing it. This is our store list up here, and we're passing it. We're dropping it in this box, right? We're dropping it in this box, or this input parameter box, if you will. So we pass that, and that goes into here, and then now we can use that. We can use this just like we use store list. It's the same thing, right? So we're just dropping that into this input parameter box, and now we can use that, and now we get the counts of this list and whatever. We're accessing that list, right? So hopefully that's clear. We've talked about for loops and lists. So the only thing we're doing different here is we defined a method, and we're calling the method and passing the list to that method, right? So if that's not clear, please pause and type this in and play around with it. Run it through the debugger and watch the value, hover over these items, watch the locals window, and watch the values change, right? So just step through it. So type this in and step through it if it's not crystal clear. So let's do this a little bit differently. Okay, this time we're going to use Stringbuilder. This time we're going to return a string. This time I want to return it, and I keep forgetting to stop the debugging. All right, this time we're going to return a string. We're going to return a string, right? And I'm getting the red squiggly because we're not returning a string. We don't have a return statement returning the string, but we'll do that. We don't want to write to the console this time. This time we'll write to the label in the on the form. So we're going to do some concatenation here. Okay, it's just like we've done before. We're going to use this shortcut, and we've seen all this before. So if this isn't clear, please go back to the previous videos. We're concatenating this line, and we need a new line character. So we need to concatenate. We're going to use environment.newline. Environment.newline. Just type it in. So environment.newline. Or you can use the string with the \n. That's fine. This is probably a clearer way of doing it. So environment.newline. So this is going to give us a new line, right? So everything won't be on one line. So after it does all that concatenating, we're going to return the line, right? We're going to return the line. We're going to return this variable, this box, that should hold an enumerated list. This is going to hold an enumerated list. Again, if this isn't clear, please review the videos. We've already covered this. So we're just concatenating here, assigning to this box, enumerating the list, assigning it to this box, and we're just returning the box. So really the only thing new here is we're returning this variable called line, which holds an enumerated list. And we've declared the return type as we've declared the return type as a string. This is going to return a string, and this line holds a string, right? It holds a string and declared as a string. So we're going to return this string, right? And we're going to assign it space and arrow over to our label, or label 1. We want that text property. We want to assign it to that text property. So we're going to call this method enumerate list. We're passing it this whole list, right? It's a list of strings, right? And so the parameter is declared as a list of strings, so we can pass it a list of strings. And I name the parameter items. It has a return type of string, right? So we got to return a string. We got to pass it a list of strings, and we got to return a string. And that's what this does, returns a string. And this enumerates the list like we've seen before in previous video. So this enumerates the list, assigns it to this variable called line, and then it's going to return that variable. It's going to return that string, right? And then once it gets returned, it's going to assign it, because the assignment operator is going to assign it to that text property on that label. All right. So let's go ahead and run this. So hopefully, if all goes well, when I click the button, we should see an enumerated store list. And there we go. Honey bun, ice cream, a lot of good stuff on our list. So there you go. Just enumerated that list and assign it to the variable line, and then return that string. Return that string, and then we assigned it to the text property. The text property on this label, right, which holds a string. Okay, so let's do something a little different. Let's write a method that will get a random item from our list. We just want to get a random item from our list and assign it to this text property, right? This on the label. So we're going to get a random item from our list. So let's type in, and we're going to return a string. It's going to return a string, and it's going to get a random item. So let's call it get random item, right? Just something I can't spell today, so just something descriptive, right? You just want something descriptive, and just something that tells you what the method does. And this is going to be we're defining the parameter, and we want a list of strings, right? We want a list of strings, our curly brackets, it's our code block. So now we have our method signature, we have our parameter signature, we've named it get random item, yeah, that's going to be the name. The return type is string. We're getting the red squiggly because we don't have a return statement, right? And we could just do this. Now it should be happy because it's returning a string, right? But we haven't got that far yet, so the red squiggly will just have to stay there for a few seconds. Okay, so we want to get a random item. So how do you think we can get a random value? What have we seen before that could give us a random value, right? There's a type in the .NET framework called random, right? And it gets a random type. It gets a random integer. Okay, so we can just name our variable randomizer. You can name it whatever. I just chose randomizer. It's of random type. This we have to instantiate. Big complicated sounding word. And that'll be this again. This may not make any sense till we get into object oriented. So for right now, just go with it. So this randomizer gets a random integer. One of its we'll use its method called next, right? It's going to get a random integer. So we want a variable, and let's just call this index. We'll call this variable index. Get that out the way. So this is a variable called index. It holds an int, and let's do this random. Let's type in our variable name. The method we want is next, right? Note the purple box, right? So it's a method, and we've seen this before. Returns a non-negative random number less than the specified maximum, right? Less than the specified maximum. It's a method. We need parentheses, right? And now we need our list, and we need the parameter. So I'm going to Control-C copy, Control-V. This is going to be our list, right? This is the parameter. This is our input parameter box, right? And it holds a list, whatever list we pass it, and we won't count. We want the number of items, however many items are in that list. We don't care how many items are in that list, because this property will get that for us, right? If there's a million items in the list, then this count is going to give us 1 million, right? So, and this is all that we need here. We don't need a start number. You could put a start number here if you wanted to, but the default is 0. And that's where we want to start. We want to get a random number. Let's say how many items do we have? We have 8 items. So in this case, we know we have 8 items, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But we know the index numbers start at 0, right? Start at 0. So 0, 1, and it's very hard to write with a mouse. 0, 1, 2, 3. My penmanship's bad anyway, but especially bad writing with a mouse. But 0, 1, 2, 3. The first item is an index 0. Remember that it's going to start at 0. So this index number is 0, right? This index number is 7, right? There's 8 items. 8 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but the index numbers start at 0. So this first item is 0. The last item is index 7, right? So 0 through 7. So this is our max number. It goes up to, but not including that max number, right? This is the max number. It goes up to, but not including that. So in this case, this is going to be 8. We have 8 items in a list. We just happen to know that. A lot of times you won't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatever it is. If there's 1,000, then this is going to be 1,000, right? So this is the max number that we're passing to this method. So in this case, we'll be passing it the number 8. So that means it's going to find a random integer from 0 through 7, not up to, but not including that max number. Up to, but not including that max number. So the count is going to give us 8 in this case. So it's going to give us, the next method is going to give us a random integer from 0 through 7. 0 through 7, right? So we're going to get a random integer. And these integers are going to correspond with the index numbers, right? These index numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So once we get a random integer from 0, in this case from 0 through 7, so now we can return, I'm having trouble spelling today for some reason. Alright, so we can return the list items, actually we're going to use the index operation. Indexing, remember the square brackets, indexing. We put in the index number in the square brackets, right? So if we want 0, we put in, if we want this item, first item, we put 0. Want this item, we'll put 1. Want this item, 2, etc. Want the last item would be 7, right? Whatever index position we want, we put in between these square brackets, right? That's indexing operation. Indexing operation. But we want to put this variable index, which holds that random integer from 0 through 7 in this case. We want to put that variable here, that box in here. So whatever that box holds, whatever it is, that's the index number that we want, right? So items is our list, right? And this is the index number. So we're accessing the item through the index number, right? And we're just returning that. This is going to be a string, right? This is not returning a list, returning a string. This is just one item in the list. And the list holds, it's a list of strings. So let's say if this is 0, the index box, this variable happens to hold the value 0. In this case, it's going to get honey buns, right? So whatever it is, right? So whatever's in that box, that's what the index number is going to be. And items, that's our list, so it's going to get whatever items in that index position. It's going to return that item. It's going to return that item, right? Okay, so let's go up here. We want to comment this out. We don't want to use this method right now. We do want to use that label 1 dot, and text is already highlighted. Hit enter. Equal sign, assignment operator, and our method get, get random. There we go. And note the purple box, right? Note the purple box. This is a method that we just created, right? I just defined this method, and it gave me a little purple box, right? So it's selected, so I hit enter and open parentheses, and now we can see the method signature. It returns, going to return a string. And this is the fully qualified name, form1.getRandomItem. That's what we named it. And look at the parameter signature. It's a parameterized method, meaning it has a parameter. Right? And a parameter is just a box. So we've declared this input parameter box, which we called items. We declared it to hold a list of strings. We declared it to hold a list of strings. So we're going to pass it this list of strings. We're going to pass it our list of strings and semicolon to end the statement. So it's going to return just a string. It's going to return one of these items. All right, we're just going to randomly pick one of those items and return it and assign it to this text property, right? So let's test that. Let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so theoretically, when I click the button, we should see a random store item displayed here. And there we go, ice cream also. And let's try it again. Pickle, and these are just ice cream again. Coffee. Okay, Nutty Buddy bars, coffee again, refried beans. Okay, so it was just getting a random value. So let's step through this. Step through this one. This is a good bit. There's a lot going on here. So let's step through this and click on the run button. And just click on the button. We probably should have changed the text of the button, but it's okay. Okay, so here we're calling that method that we just defined. We know it's going to return a value. It's going to return a string. We want to step into, or you can press F11, step into the method, right? And this instantiates, right? Instantiates, big fancy technical term. It gets us a thing of the random type. It gets a thing of the random type, you know, or an object or an instance, right? It's an instance of the random type. And again, that's object oriented. We haven't got there yet, so that makes no sense. Just roll with it. Okay, so we got randomizer. It's just what I named the variable. The box holds a random something of an instance of the random type. So I named it randomizer. The method that we're using is next, which gets a random integer within a range, within a specified range, whatever range you give it. Here I just gave it the max number. So it's this being, and the count is 8, right? There's 8 items in that list. So the count is 8. It counted the items in the list and it correctly counted 8, right? And so this is my max number, 8. And remember, it goes up to, but not including this number, the max number, not including this number. We wouldn't want to include this number 8. Because what happens if, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. What happens if we put in 8 here? Let's put in 8. We have 8 items. We've got 8 items, right? So let's put in 8. So what's going to happen if we put in 8? And actually, that's a random thing, so I'm going to undo that. Because we may have to click it several times to get that. So let's just put in 8 here. Let's just put in 8 right here. So let's try to access the element, the item in the 8th index position. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen when I click the button. We're trying to get the index, the item in the index position 8. We got 8 items. We got 8 items. So we're looking for the index 8. All right. So let's click the button and it hasn't executed, so I'm just going to go ahead and execute that. I'm not going to step into the method, just go ahead and execute it, step over. Alright, so it's executing the method, and it just blew up. It just went kaboom, right? Argument out of range exception. Argument out of range exception. Index was out of range. Must be non-negative and less than the size of the collection. Parameter name index, right? So the index must be less than the size of the collection. It was out of range. And just to reiterate, the index numbers start at 0. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The last one's 7. There is no 8, right? There is no 8 index position, right? This one is 7. So it's looking for 8, and it's not there. It doesn't exist, right? So let's go back and change it back. So let's put the variable back where it belongs and uncomment this. Okay, so now let's go back and step into the method this time. Okay, so click on the button and step into the method. Okay, so count is 8, so it gets up to but not including that number. So and by default it starts at 0, which is what we want in this case, is the index number start at 0. So we don't need to give it a start number. The default's 0. If it's like if you wanted to start, if you want to get the random number from index 3, you could do that. You could put the start number in there if you wanted to, but the default is 0, so we don't need. We want to start at 0 in this case, so we don't need to put a start number in there. But that's how you would do it if you needed to. So we're just putting a max number, which is 8, which is our count, the number of items in the list. So the next method gets a random value, random integer from the start number, which in this case is 0. This is default, up to but not including that max number, not including. So in this case it's 0 through 7. Let's get a random integer from 0 through 7, assigning it to this box, this integer, which holds an integer. And then this is accessing the items is our list, right? That's our list, that's our store list that we pass to this parameter. We passed it to this parameter. So this is our store list, and we're using the square brackets, the indexing operation, square brackets. So we're putting the index number, in this case holds 0, right? And that was just the random thing. Let's go ahead and run this, and we'll click continue, and it gave us pickle. And let's go ahead and step into the method again and see what the random value is now. Now it's 0 again. Alright, let's run it one more time. Step into again. And now it's 1. Now it's something different. Okay, so now we got a different index number. So the index 1 is ice cream, right? So we should get ice cream now. So let's step over, keep stepping, let's go ahead and execute that. So now it assigned ice cream, the string ice cream, to our text property. And let's go ahead and run that, and we can see ice cream. So there you go. So that's the end of part 4. I know this is very long. Again, kudos for hanging in there, and I'll see you in part 5.